Hello, welcome back to Shadow Phoenix Tarot. And in this video, we're going to do the pre-learning for the upcoming tarot class on February 29th and March 1st, in person live in Southern Oregon. And if you want to save a seat, we are 3 weeks away from that. And yeah, 3 weeks away. If you want to save a seat and RSVP your spot, please send a $25 deposit to shadowphoenix1317@gmail.com. You can do PayPal. And if you happen to see me around town, you can also just hand me cash. That will save your spot for the 29th, February 29th and March 1st for that 8-hour class. That 8-hour class is 4 hours on Saturday, 4 hours on Sunday. It comes with your own deck that I'm going to give for everybody because when you're new, I think it's really difficult to find a deck and get the deck, and I don't want you guys to have to worry about that. Also, after that weekend class, what comes with the entire package is an extra 1 hour of one-on-one coaching with you. The class I did last year was 3 consecutive weekends. It was kind of hard to fit it all in with everybody. Some people couldn't make it. I'm hoping that with a weekend format, we can shorten that up and people can get the entirety of the class so that you can be reading effectively by the 8th hour. But it's also a lot of information to get in a weekend. And as you take those skills home and use them, you're going to come up with more questions, and I want to be available for those. So at the class, we'll be scheduling a second hour meeting between me and you personally, so that those questions you have and kind of using your skills and going through all that, we can fine tune. And of course, I'm available and local if you have more questions after that. So, we can do, if you have something like for all my students, if you need something, it's an ongoing relationship. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to charge you for every hour too. Not every interaction needs to be like a tutored hour. So that's that. Get your RSVP in if you want to come. The entire price for the full class is $200. If you cannot do that, let me know. We will work out it's like a sliding scale. We'll do a different payment arrangement. It's not about keeping people out or making the cost prohibitive. It's just about valuing my work, my time, my expertise, my teaching skills. But for people who really want to learn that genuinely need a different price, I'm more than happy to work with everybody. Okay, so let me know. So what we're going to do in this class, this mini class, this has been really hard for me, oddly enough. So we're going to talk about the major arcana because I promised you guys some pre-class learning and that I would go through the cards on video, because we're not going to be going through the cards in the class per se. We're going to be learning how to read them. Why aren't I including that in the class? Because the information's already out there. It's online, it's written on blogs, there's videos of it. There's more information than you can digest in 10 lifetimes about the meaning of the 78 tarot cards. So I don't feel like adding to that is really that much of value, but I know some people like to have the same teacher for stuff, and it's a way for us to interact. So it's hard because I don't want you to think that there's a right or a wrong way to interpret the cards. There is an assigned meaning to every card, but it's so layered and nuanced and full and robust. Like every single individual card has so much meaning that honestly, like it would just take books and books to really get into it. And I don't want to overwhelm you guys because I think a lot of tarot teachers, a lot of tarot students focus on, well, what does this card mean? What does that card mean? Yeah, you have to know the meaning of the cards, but reading isn't about picking up the book and reading what it means. It's about reading the entire message to your querent, and it's about interpreting that and drawing that information out of the cards, and how the cards interact with each other in the spread when you lay them down is more important in a lot of ways than reading just the individual card. So I am going to go through and give you a short synopsis of the 21 major arcana. We will talk about some of the major symbolism with them. But again, I don't want you to feel like there's a right or wrong here. And this is a jumping off point, okay? So this is a jumping off point. I am still learning about these cards. My relationship with the cards continues to grow and evolve, and we will talk about that. So again, and don't feel you have to memorize them. This is not about memorization, okay? It's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing learning process, okay? Don't let it freak you out. I think a lot of people get too overwhelmed with feeling they have to memorize 78 cards, and that's a deterrent. They feel very intimidated by having to memorize all of these cards, and you don't, okay? So, having said all that, let's get into it. The 21 major arcana cards start with the Fool, and this is about the Fool's journey. These are the Carl Jungian archetypes that we talk about in tarot and in psychology, and every one of these cards is an evolution for this Fool. And Fool is not a derogatory term. It's just that he is the initiate. He is a brand new student. He is brand new towards this evolution. And as he progresses, he changes and he grows and develops and makes these evolutions and these spiritual growth levels. And then he winds up as the world. Okay? And so this mirrors the journey for all of us as we come into this incarnation and every incarnation, and from lifetime to lifetime, as we also grow and change and learn different lessons, okay? So these are about life lessons. These are more like a karmic level. These are embodiments that we go through at a soul level or a spiritual level. And timeline, you know, in the manifest 3D world, these take seasons of time. You're not going to have one, you're not going to pull out the world card for Tuesday and on, you know, Wednesday come up with a different card. These are evolutions that take time to develop and ripen, and it's the process of evolution and growth, and characteristics and strengths about each one, versus the minor arcana, which are more day-to-day situations or people that you meet in your journey, and they tend to be much rapid. So you can get a different card Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and have that be much more accurate of an unfolding in your week than, you know, getting a bunch of these. So some things about the major arcana. There's 21 of them, and they have Roman numerals. So this is the Fool. He starts off with 0. And then the rest of them have Roman numerals at the top. And so that's one of the ways that you can tell. This is the High Priestess. She's got 2. I'm sorry. That's one of the ways that you can tell that you're dealing with the major arcana. A court card is going to have a suit. So either a wand, sword, pentacle, or cup. They're also going to have a page, like a person, knight, page, knight, king, queen. Or they will have a number because they are a pip card. Ace through 10. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So those are the minors. These are the majors. And I'm wondering, I don't think so. Okay. So let's start off with the Fool. The Fool is 0. And this is how you know right from the get-go that this is an esoteric deck, that this is something different about this deck of cards, is that it starts out at 0. This Fool is characterized by being on a steep cliff and looking as if he's about to walk off of it. He generally has his head looking up or off into the clouds. There's a dog. There's a white dog as the symbolism at his feet. He carries a white rose, and he carries like a knapsack on a stick. He carries his belongings with him. He symbolizes new beginnings. This is new beginnings. Okay. The Fool, as he evolves, turns into the Magician. This is number 1. He's characterized by the lemon skate. I believe it's called the lemon skate. This is the sign for infinity. That's also, I want to say, Mercury, Hermes, one of the messengers. It has to do with like messages. Again, there's a lot of symbology in here. But the lemon skate on there. And then he has a snake for a belt. And then he has all of the elements on the table. A cup, a pentacle, a sword, and a wand, indicating that he is able to have mastery over all 4 elements and manifest what he chooses. He will be pointing both in the air with one hand and towards the ground with the other, indicating as above, so below. And he has a wand in his raised hand. And this is the Magician. This is for people who are able to manifest, or, you know, growing into that, being able to manifest what they want. Second is the High Priestess. And this signifies our ability to be connected to our inner knowing, our higher self, our intuition. I tend to interpret these cards in a much more positive way in general. Some readers, and you'll learn this as you continue to continue your education and research and study how your heart leads you with tarot, but some people tend to be more negative about certain things. So people will all say, oh, the High Priestess is about hiding things that are hidden. And there's some sort of, for me, I feel like there's a negative connotation for that. It's not that it's hidden. This is just the shadow side. This is just the unseen. This is the back side of the moon, the dark side of the moon. And it exists, and it's not shadowy in that it's evil, but it's that it's the unseen side. It's not negative. It's just the yin and yang, just the forward and backwards. So she will have a rolled up scroll on her lap. She will have a headdress on. There will be a black and white pillar on each side of her and pomegranates, as well as the moon at her feet. There's pomegranates on the curtain behind her. And then also the moon at her feet is also a huge symbolic picture for her. You will notice that we are now looking at the first card, who is seated. Cards who are seated and who have a crown or headdress on denote a developing sense of authority, ability to make decisions, and who are ruling and doing things from their being rather than taking action to accomplish them. This is my significator. This is my card for me. So personally, just a little tidbit about me. This is the Empress. You will notice that she also is seated. She is number 3. And she embodies fertility, the female manifest, whereas the High Priestess is more of a female energy, but it's not female specifically in gender. But again, at the hidden side, this is the fertility and abundance and all of its forms in the 3D, and our ability to take what we know from what we're trying to manifest and put that out into the world. She is seated. She will have stars on her crown. She will also have a wand. I believe that rabbits are a very common animal for her to have with her. And if you can see here on her heart, this is a shield. This is the astrological or astronomy, the signal for Venus. So Venus is the planet that's associated with this card. I don't have them all memorized. When I know them, I will tell you. And oftentimes she is pregnant. I really like a pregnant Empress. And she has roses. I want to say some... one of the reasons why I like this deck is that it is a lot clearer in the artwork to see what's going on. And every bit of the tarot and the artwork has a ton of symbolism in it. Iconography, symbology, flowers, botany, the planets, the signs, the astrology signs, animals, colors, all sorts of symbols are combined in this deck, and that's why I use this deck to teach, because in our current incarnation of the tarot, this is the one that they're mostly all modeled off of. And again, the more I use it, the more I come back to this deck because it is very powerful. So this is number 4. IV is 4. This is the Emperor. This is the masculine outward manifester and ruler. You will notice that he's also seated. He has a crown on. He does have armor on, significating that he is able to take up arms and defend what is his, in addition to being a ruler and decision maker and, producing edict. He also has a wand in his hands. This is associated with the sign of Aries, and you will see that he has ram's head on his throne, both on the arms and then hanging off of the backs. And also, I want to say Mars. He is his planet, if I'm not mistaken. He has the globe in one hand and the scepter in the other. Also, if you check out like English royalty, they tend to have these same symbols for being monarch and emperor over their dominion. He has a little bit of a deserty landscape there. This is a good benevolent ruler generally. Again, some people, and again, it also depends again the reading in context of what else is going on there. But generally, again, I interpret that in a favorable way. Some people, though, just have a negative or more shadow side that they read through. And sometimes, again, it is important that the energy and how the cards come up. So you can't say that a card's always good or always bad. That's not how tarot works. All right, number 5. Also, the numerology associated with the tarot is very important. So it's very key to continue to call out the numbers. This is the Hierophant. Also, he will be called the Pope in more traditional decks. And in some other decks, what am I thinking of? He can also be called like a shaman. Anyways, this one has had a lot of evolution because of the little bit outdated and archaic symbolism here. To me, this seems very much like a Roman Catholic Church, especially when you're going around calling the card the Pope. And so, as sidebar, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but as culture continues to evolve and change, a lot of these cards get redressed. They get redone. They get reinterpreted, and rightly so. I think it's good to know the history and where it comes from. I think it's also good to have a modern interpretation that resonates more strongly for the current collective. But this is a card that tends to get a lot of overhauling, I think, for some really obvious reasons. Again, you're going to notice some pillars. Anytime you have pillars, that's going to be associated with static, logical, masculine, macro-level organizations or knowing. This is a card about learning. So anything you would go to like a church for. So you can go to be learning. These two people before the Hierophant are acolytes who are learning a spiritual path. They're disciples that are learning. So it can be higher learning. It's very much outward organized learning. It's organized religion. It's organized culturally accepted norms. This is one of the marriage cards. If you get the Hierophant, that can be a marriage. It can also be a divorce card if it comes up with justice. And he has, again, a crown, and he has it's hard to see it here. I don't know if I can get you in close enough. A lot of crosses on there. He's holding a cross in his hand. I don't know what these are supposed to be on the columns. And then also there's keys on the ground. And all of the robes, the colors, the headdress, the adornment, every bit of this deck is layered with symbolism. And so the depth, there's on YouTube, there's series of YouTube channels that have a literal an hour of teaching on just each individual card. If you have the time and the wherewithal, I would say do that. There's no way that I can get into all that here. But just know that the symbolism in all of these cards is very extensive, and every picture, every illustration is on here very intentionally. This is card number 6, the Lovers. Excuse me. The Hierophant is typically used for the sign of Taurus. This is usually a Taurus card. This one is a Gemini card. Again, and that's within the reading, but the Lovers is about that twin coming together, the twin flame coming together, the opposite faces of the twins, how Gemini kind of is. This one has also had some redressing from ancient times to common times there. This angel used to be a third person, used to be a female in the landscape with them. In this incarnation, the angel's above them, kind of presiding over them or bringing them together. You have 2 naked figures. Each of them has their own tree or their own symbology on each of their sides. There's a sun and an angel, and then they're in the landscape. This is the Lover's card. She has the snake here. And then he has fire. She has a fruitful tree with the snake. Again, look into the symbolism here. This is the number 6. This is the Lover's card. This is about finding a good fit. Personally, as a reader, I interpret this less romantically. The Two of Cups for me is the more romance card. This can also be between you and you. Like if you got this with the High Priestess, this means you're coming to terms with yourself. If you get the Lovers with, say, a work card, you could be getting a good work partnership where you're coming to a good place of employment, or you're starting a good partnership with a good, well-matched pair, like a business partner. Could also be about finding friends. So again, on a more of a soul level, it's about finding balance and partnership with people. If you have this and the Two of Cups, bam, there you go. This and the Two of Cups and the Hierophant, bam, there you go. You'll learn all about that. Okay, number 7, the Chariot. Usually this is for the sign of Capricorn. The Chariot is symbolized by 2 sphinxes, one black and one white, pulling the Chariot. The Chariot has, this is a lot of sun energy, so this is like Apollo or like the sun god, but it's just the rider. He will have armor on, and this is about being able to drive forward, balance and harness your energy so that you can go where you want to go, and being able to make forward momentum, forward progress. He does have a wand, also a laurel wreath. The Sphinxes and the Chariot itself are 2 of the biggest symbols that go with that card. This is the Strength card, number 8. You again can see the lemon skate over her head. She has a headdress, and she's standing. This one's standing. These 2 are standing, so you can see, you know, the standing and seated. This is about personal power, not power over. The mystery of this angelic, simple woman being able to tame this ferocious, horrible lion, you know, and the secret of the strength that she possesses in herself, which brings things naturally into harmony with her, rather than for her to have a very overt, dominating control over something. This lion is obviously very happy. She's petting him, and they're very much in harmony and in sync with one another. This is often used for the sign of Leo. Here we have the Hermit. This is one of my favorite cards. This is card 9. And the Hermit is often associated with Virgo. And the Hermit is going to be characterized by having a cloak, definitely a hood, sometimes even further pulled over his head. He is older. That's a part of the archetype. He has a staff, and there's a lantern. This lantern holds a star, if you can see that. And he's going to be on mountains or in another similar desolate place that is away from people and kind of on a high place away from the common goings on in the valley or in the city or town where he lives. This is very much about going inward, looking for your own light, finding your own answers, and a period of withdrawal and solitude to be able to get centered, find your own strength and your own light and your own answers. This is card 10, so pretty close to the middle. Part of the sidebar, part of the numerology of the major arcana is that it's 0 to 21. So you technically have 22 cards, which puts, if you do them in 2 rows, you have 0 to 11 and then 12 to 21, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And so sometimes the numbers don't add up right. They don't go straight, you know, because like who starts at 0? And yet here we have a card for 0. We have a value for it. And 0 denotes that leveling up process when you complete an evolution. We have the same thing here because in 10 you have a 1 and a 0, which essentially is a 1. And also, it's also a 0. So there's a lot of mystery combined in, again, all of the levels of these cards and the meanings on them. One of the things I like to do to study them is to line them up and to line them up starting at 0 or line them up starting at 1 and line them up by 5s or by 3s. And as you go up and down the rows, you can look at the similarities because it's a pattern and it's a cycle and repeats itself. This is 10. This indicates the middle point of that cycle. This is generally a luck card. This is called the Wheel of Fortune. It's card number 10. It's associated with the planet Jupiter. And there's 5 angels or beings. There's, I believe this is underneath the circle is a phoenix or a dragon. On top of it is a Sphinx, and then in each corner is a different person. There's a wheel indicating that there's seasons and cycles, and there's natural, you rise and fall on the wheel of life. Sometimes you're above, sometimes you're under. Generally, this is a good luck card. Again, and for me, I almost never interpret it as a bad luck card, but it can. I mean, fortune, you never know. It's just kind of luck of the draw, and that's this unknown, this wild card energy for the Wheel of Fortune. So in some ways it is predictable because we're up and we're down, but it also has that sense of unknown destiny of things coming to you or emerging. Yeah. And again, there's no people in that card, so the symbology is all kind of different. Here we have Lady Justice, number 11. Sometimes, I want to say it's this card in Strength. Sometimes they'll move, and this will be number 8, and then Strength will be number 11. Different decks do it different ways. I'm not exactly sure what all the backstory is on that. And you can make your own decisions about how you want to handle that. Number 11 is Justice. Now we're going back to a seated figure with a crown. So again, this is a person who makes decisions and edicts, and they rule from their being and not from their action. There's an uplifted sword in the left hand. There's the scales of justice in the right hand. Some of the symbology I like about this card are the squares. There's a green square on her crown indicating logical and rational thought. This is definitely a card for legal issues. This can be also about karma in some ways and about bringing things to justice, bringing things to a conclusion, balancing up the energies. Again, depending on the cards that come with this one, it also depends on how you're going to interpret it. This is Justice. The Hanged Man. Number 12, the Hanged Man. And I want to say that this is Pisces. Or Pisces is the moon. I don't know. And also, if you watch YouTube videos of tarot readers, which I do highly recommend, you'll hear them say, this is such and such, but for me as a reader, it means this. And that's part of the class that you'll be hearing, is that each individual reader has their own relationship with the tarot. And for readers, we can come to identify certain cards that for us resonate very strongly with a certain energy or label. And we begin to, the tarot speaks to us with our own individualized dialect or shorthand or slang in tarot language. And so that's a little bit different for all of us. Some of us it's radically different. And so you may hear people say that, and that's kind of what that's referring to, is that they have come to associate a certain card with a certain energy or occurrence or type of thing, what have you, and they're just telling you that. So this is the Hanged Man. He is upside down. He's suspended from one foot. Commonly, the opposite foot is crossed, and his hands are going to be behind him. There's a crossbar, and I think there's a bird. No, not on this one. There's going to be, he's on a tree, and then there's the halo. So this is a card about being somewhat forced into finding a new perspective, a more evolved, or, being grateful, finding a silver lining. But it's about also withstanding difficult times gracefully, or like undergoing persecution and coming out better for it. Does not have a heavy energy of suffering, in my opinion. Again, depending on what cards come with it. But it's about finding a new perspective. This is the Death card. This is one of my favorite cards. This is number 13. This does not mean that anybody is dying. This means that something is dying and transforming and going to be reborn in a new way. Okay, so this is much more about transformation. It does look very ghastly at first when you are unfamiliar with it. This card indicates Scorpio. If you're going to do astrology with it, it's Scorpio. There's a black flag with a white 5-pointed rose on it, a skeleton wearing a black suit of armor, and a white horse. Generally, there are people, popes, kings, people supplicating before death, begging for mercy, begging to be pardoned. They will not be And it's hard to see in this card. I apologize because I'm moving all over, but in the background is going to be a bridge, some mountains, a tower. Actually, those are towers, not mountains. There is also mountains too, and the sunrise, indicating that death is going to be bringing death for a certain amount of time, and then after that, that's going to be transformative, and there's a new dawn. There's a passage. It's part of the ongoing journey. This is not a final ending. This is not, of course, ending is here. There is grief here. There is pain here. Not to gloss over those things because it can be difficult, but it's a transition phase. Ironically, you can get this card for pregnant moms a lot because, especially for it's the first child, because their maiden journey is ending in a very real and concrete way for them, and they're going into a mother energy. And so again, it's a card about transformation. Big life changes can also divorce, graduation, turning 18, turning 62, graduating high school, graduating college, your kids are leaving home, you're moving. Big life changes tend to come with the death card because you are growing and evolving. And anytime you grow and evolve, you let go of an old social status, an old ego structure, an old way of life. And that's what this means. Not that something's dying per se, but that it's a very complete transformation from one thing into another. That is why one of the reasons, there's actually more I've learned, but about the number 13, that's one of the reasons why it's considered bad luck is because it's the death card. There's other information on the internet about why 13 is considered unlucky by the patriarchy, but 13 is not a bad number, not by a long shot. Number 14, also, I'm going to say, as a reader, you will need to explain these things to your querent if certain cards pop up, because people who are not familiar or educated in the tarot can be really upset or scared or afraid because of the common understanding of, like, say, death, or because of the common understanding around a tarot death card if they don't understand fully what's going on. So some of these cards, as a reader, you are going to have the responsibility of communicating very clearly to people what it is they're seeing and what they're not seeing. Okay, so I've had other readers too that they say, I've never had somebody's death foretold in the cards, and the one time it was I don't know, but they say it's tarot does not work like that. And most likely it would be either to help you avert such, an outcome, or to help somebody plan or prepare. But it's not, again, because of the very strong fortune telling culture that the common culture tends to think that tarot is. They think, oh, somebody's going to die. It's not about that. So just want to put that out there. The Temperance card. This is number 14. The sign Sagittarius is depicted in this card, the energy of Sagittarius. Temperance is about alchemy. It's about balance, but it's about also creating something new. And remember, this is the journey, and it's coming from the death card where there's something is ended into something new. And so we're turning something old into something new, this transformation. This is the part of the new evolution, the new growth. The angel, it has like a circle representing infinity on its head. It's kind of like a headdress. There's a square and a triangle on the front of the cloak. They're standing in water with 1 foot in water, 1 foot out of water. They have 2 golden goblets, 2 cups that they're pouring water back and forth from. And there's also a crown with a road in the distance, again, indicating that there's an onward journey and that this is just part of the journey. This is the Devil card. Again, does not mean the actual devil, if you believe in that, which I do not. This is card number 15. The devil has part human, part goat, part ram, part bat, part fur, I don't know. It's kind of like a conglomerate of a big monster with 2 naked people. This is the lovers from earlier at his feet in chains. He's usually giving some sort of hand signal. He has a pentagram over his head. That's the inverted 5-pointed star. Upright, it's a pentacle. Upside down, it's a pentagram. This is a very fearsome looking card. It's about us choosing to be in bondage. We have the ability to set ourselves free, But a lot of times we have a lot of fear when we choose being in bondage or we become like enslaved to something. This is a card that you'll get a lot if people are dealing with addiction, drug addiction, substance abuse of any kind. A lot of people have this card when they have codependent or dysfunctional relationships. And again, depending on what comes up with it, this can be a shadow side where somebody is succumbing to their shadow side instead of confronting it and taking ownership and moving through it. The devil card is going to be always encouraging them, hey, this is going on, you need to know about it because you might be in denial, and or, you know, help us move you through this because this is a legitimate stage in the journey for the Fool. And I don't know if I said this, but this is Capricorn. The sign of Capricorn is also often used with that one. Here is the Tower. I think this is a planet and I don't remember which it is. This is card number 17. It's depicted by a tower, usually on some sort of like a high mountain. People are falling off of it. There's a crown on top of the tower that's being blown off. And there's lightning that is hitting the tower. There's smoke and also fire. There's fire in the sky around the tower. This card has been one of my unfavorite cards the whole time of being a reader. I do not like this card in general. I've had a very difficult relationship with it for me as a reader until a couple months ago. This winter, I started getting this card a lot, and I was like, oh God. Since then, I have learned, like I'm saying, this is an ongoing relationship between the reader and the tarot deck and the tarot itself. I started reading in 2012, so I'm going on 8 years. It'll be 8 years this summer, fall. And you continue to learn and develop your relationship with the card. So again, it's never ending. And I have learned that the Tower card is about things being burned down or being, first of all, it's very sudden and it's change and it's very fast change. So people tend to associate that with catastrophe. It's not always catastrophe. It could be something good, but because it happens so rapidly, it tends to be upsetting because people don't like instability. And any kind of change, even good change, can be very unsettling for people. So that's generally how I have interpreted this card. It's not necessarily a bad card. It's just extremely uncomfortable. Some of the other ways that I have learned in the recent past is that this lightning bolt is signifying enlightenment from the gods, from the universe, from source, from your higher being, whatever you believe that to be, to the person. Also, alongside of that, or in addition to that, this blowing off of the crown is about releasing ego. So some things that don't fit, some things that the Tower only brings destruction to things that are not firmly planted in the first place. Nothing real can ever be taken away. So if the Tower's happening, it's only going to be upsetting things, people, situations that aren't real or true or like truly rooted and grounded for you. And yeah, so again, taking away things. It's like a cleaning up of things in your life that can be parasitic or that you haven't had you've had a hard time getting rid of. Things like this. If you wait too long to fix something like this yourself, this universe comes along and helps you with one of these. And it'll clear it away for you as an act of love to help set you free because you were not able to process in that evolution through whatever was holding you down. So I've developed a new understanding and a fuller appreciation for this card more recently, and I don't quite have the same negative reaction that I used to when I get it. But again, I'd much rather see the Death card than this on a spread any day, still. And again, what cards come up with it is going to say a lot to you. Here we have the Star card. This is card 17. This is for the sign of Aquarius. And here's an angel. She again has 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land. She's bending down and she has a pitcher in each hand, a water pitcher. And from that pitcher, she's pouring water onto the ground and then back into the pond. There's stars around her. It's going to be a night scene always. And she's naked. And this is a healing card. This is for healing. This is for restoration. Because if you've just gone through this, you're ready for this. And it's also a wish granted card. Another wish granted card is the Nine of Cups. So when you have this is always a really good sign for the person that you are reading for. They have emotional healing on the way. They have a healing of like psychic or emotional or mental stress or strain. If they are traumatized or wounded, PTSD, depression, any kind of like things that we might consider like a mental health issue, they're getting support spiritually to deal with that, and healing is being offered from the tarot. And again, wishes coming true. So a really beautiful, gentle card. Oh, this is 18. I have to sit and count now. Use all my fingers and toes. This is the Moon card. The Moon is a strongly feminine sign. And again, I want to say it's Pisces or no, Cancer. I said maybe this is Cancer. I don't know. I don't have it memorized. Here's the Moon. And you're going to have a night scene. And this is both a full moon and a crescent moon at the same time. I mean, some people might think that that's a sun. It's very mystical and up to interpretation. There's these little fireflies or feathers or leaves or something. And then there's a dog, a jackal, and a lobster, a crustacean coming from underneath the water. This is heavy water energy. This is heavy feminine energy, heavy divine feminine energy, heavy goddess energy. And this is also the subconscious, the emotions. This is spirit. The tower, these two towers show themselves again. They're in a couple of the other cards. And this is when, now again, a lot of people will use this card for like intentional deception. Can mean that, I guess. It can also mean things that you just don't see or that aren't brought to light. Again, it's the moon, so it's things that happen in the dark. And depending on what your relationship with the dark is going to inform a lot of how you feel about this card. But it's also, see the grabs coming up from the water. It's your subconscious, it's spirit, it's your emotions coming up to speak with you and reveal information to you. And also for you to be more in touch with your intuition. Next is card 19. This is the Sun card. And this is Leo? No, this is the planet, the Sun. This is the star card for our star, the Sun. Oddly enough, the Sun is the Sun card. This is a very bright, happy card. Of course, you have the Sun there. There's going to be a baby. There's going to be a lot of flowers and a white horse, a naked baby, of course, and a wall. I'm not sure what the wall is about, but also this red cloak just kind of flying through the air happily, jauntily. This is a great card for, again, warmth, growth, healing. Everything's looking up. Everything's sunny and bright. Truths are revealed. There's no shadows. There's no fear. It's very happy. Health. This is a big card for health. And again, depending on what you get with this card is going to give some nuance to it as far as what the meanings can be. But this is a very positive card. Just how it feels. A lot of emotion, a lot of successful endeavors, a lot of successful endings to endeavors. Things are going well, things are going smoothly, things are good, things are looking up. Card 20, Judgment. This is kind of a weird card. It has been difficult for me to wrap my head around sometimes. This to me has a very like biblical, apocalyptic, Armageddon type feel. Like if you ever have read the book of Revelations, this is going to be a very recognizable thing for you. Judgment, not to be confused with justice, because I often do. Judgment has an angel with a trumpet and a flag, a cross on a flag, and dead people coming out of their coffins, very happily, I might add, naked, of course. And this card is about, for me, it's about karma. It's about things coming full circle. It's about everything at the end. Have you ever heard the saying that says, everything's okay, everything turns out okay, and if it's not okay, it just is not the end? This is the end they're talking about. At the end, everything turns out okay. Rights being wrong, things being restored. And again, karmic. So like energies that are old being made new again, or energies that are old, things that are old being, continuing, versus like we're wiping the slate clean and starting over. And also with the angel, there's some divine timing involved in this card too. with the trumpet. There's again a bunch of layers here. And it depends on what comes up in the reading with it. Very last, we have the World, card 21. And there's a wreath with a naked lady. Tarot loves naked people. If you don't like naked people, don't get into tarot. Has a naked lady. She's got a purple sash indicating royalty, all good things. She has 2 wands, indicating that she has complete power over all 4 elements, above as below, and that she has all the power. She has completed the Fool's journey. She has made every evolution. She has surpassed every level, and she has now completed everything. There are 4 different animals. There's an ox, lion, a person, and an eagle. Again, rich with symbolism. Look it up. And I want to say that there's not a snake here. A lot of times you will find snakes in the World card. And this is the end of the cycle that the Fool started 22 cards ago, and has now successfully been through and mastered every one of the preceding cards, and now has full knowing, full knowledge, full experience, access to everything, complete powers. She's just floating in the air. She has just all of these resources are hers. And this is more of a rare card. I do see some people get these. And again, if somebody gets this, something is completed. You know, the death card is very popular, like, oh, somebody's going to die. And where it's like the death card is more leading onto a new evolution. This is a completion. This is a finality. This is over. It's done. It's wrapped up. I also find that a lot of people get this card because they're having a hard time making that switch. Sometimes you will get this with aces, which is good. You'll get this with 2s, which is good. You'll get this with pages, which is good. Sometimes you will get it with a full card, and that is a very clear signal that this person is completing a full evolution and ready to go into their next stage, and they should be congratulated heartily. Give this person a hug, because everything they have earned, and they've been through the ringer, and they are more than likely evolved, at least on some level, if not highly significantly in major levels, because this card does not come out very often, and when it does, the tarot is serious. They have really made this full evolution from Fool to the World, and they're about to start over again. And so they're going to go into all of this newness. They're going to start the whole level. It's just a spiral. It's like peeling the levels of the onion. And so they're going to go all over again, and they're going to start, and it's going to be a whole new evolution and journey for them. So, and I don't think that this has any attendant signs or planets with it. I don't think I probably got them all as far as the planets and the astrological symbols, but they're out there if you want to know. So that is my 50-minute discourse on the 21 cards of the major arcana. And again, please use this as just the briefest jumping off point. And you will, as you learn, as you come to the class, you will develop your own relationship with these cards. And do not feel that you have to memorize these or know them all. One of the reasons why I like this deck is because it is illustrated and the art is there in a way that you can use your own intuition to pick up the card and read it and follow the story, okay? So don't feel that you have to watch this video over and over. What I really recommend is watching a lot of videos and picking it all up and continuing to learn as you practice tarot, so that you are always adding to your knowledge base, you are always adding to your skill, and as you use your skills, learning it is going to be much more practical because you are adding it to a skill set you already have. And when you learn something about some random card, you're going to have a box and you're already going to have a format to put it into and understand it. So you do have to know the card. At some point you will have to memorize them, but you don't have to start learning. You don't have to read successfully. And that's one of the reasons why tarot is a really great introduction to divination, is because this supports you using your intuition. A lot of people will act like it's a block. You know, our typical way of learning is that I'm going to go to school and I'm going to get book knowledge that goes in my head. Then I'm going to take it out and just somehow be able to use it, even though I've never been apprenticed on a skill. And so that's why I do the class the way I do, is because you will be reading the first weekend that you come, and you do not have to know these. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And if you want to be a good reader, if you want to be professional, if you want to be proficient even, you will have to study and spend the time investing. But when you're reading and you're seeing the effect that you have on other people and the good that you're doing in the world, and when you're reading for your own pleasure and it's so enjoyable and rewarding, learning is a joy and it is fun. It's not a chore. I like biddytarot.com. Is it Biddy Tarot or is it biddy.com? Biddy, B-I-D-D-Y, Biddy Tarot. Her site is one that I go to. Like anymore, I just go to the first one, and that's usually the one I go to. There are a lot of great sites. And if you look on YouTube for tarot reading, you can either do tarot readers, and you will learn a lot. I really think that you can learn a lot from how people blend the cards and how they present the message. And as you begin to learn the cards more, as they're calling them and reading them, pulling them out and laying them down, you'll be able to understand what that card means. And then when they're giving the message, you'll be able to see how they're combining it. You can also watch YouTube for videos on how to learn the tarot. There's one channel called Tarot Oracle. It's a gentleman, and he has a great series on using numerology. His is the one that I use for numerology. And in the video, he explains it. It's a pretty short video. They're not long like this one, or they're about this long. And then he also has on how to read the pictures. Again, because different decks have different artwork, the answer, I have a friend who reads and she says the answer's in the deck. Meaning if the reader has multiple decks, the one that's chosen is the one that's supposed to speak to the querent. You as the reader can pick them. The querent can pick them. It's up to you as the reader. I don't generally allow people to make the decision on what deck they want me to read from. I include that as part of how I read for them. Very rarely I will, depending. And again, that's up to you as a reader. So the answer's in the deck because they're all going to be shuffled differently. They have different pictures. They're going to speak to you in different ways. I have some decks I've gotten rid of. They were mean. They were horrible decks. They were mean and they were nasty. I love Art Nouveau. The first deck I got was Art Nouveau. I had to get rid of it because it was an asshole deck. I have some that are so touchy-feely. They don't say anything. They're just mealy-mouthed. Everything is positive and sun and light. I can't use them because it doesn't say anything. And I've been through a lot of decks. I love collecting decks. I love comparing them. If you like decks, get the different ones, because as you look at all of these cards and compare them back to the Rider-Waite, you will see how people use art to illustrate and pull out different meanings, different kinds of interpretations, different focuses from, the original deck. Well, it's not the original, but for us, we're going to call it the original. And it can be very educational to look at different decks and compare them. And you can get a lot of different information, and it will help you learn and grow as a tarot reader. So absolutely, even though I'm suggesting that everybody starts out with this for learning and always have this one on deck for reference, my most commonly used deck is a witch deck. I use a lot of other decks very frequently, and there's so many out there. There's so many out there. So please use them and enjoy them and learn from them. And you'll know when it comes time which one to use. That's part of the intuition that you use when you're reading for people, is which of your decks you want to use to read for them. And if you let them and they have a strong preference, they might request a deck, and you can also do that. So I hope you enjoyed this just really brief introduction to the major arcana. Again, please do RSVP and you are invited to my class. If you are a beginner, this is designed for beginners. You don't even have to watch these videos. Nothing in these videos you have to know to learn tarot. And please do come. You're invited. If you have never held a deck before, this class is designed for people like you. If you know a little bit about it, you can still come. If you're already an intermediate reader, I don't think that you're probably going to learn anything. This class is designed for beginners specifically to get people utilizing their intuition, using the tarot, reading for themselves and others. If you want to be a professional reader someday, start here, start now, and you can grow. But please do come. I'd love to have you Saturday, February 29th, and Sunday, March 1st, 4 hours in the afternoon each day. And again, you will get a tarot deck. You will get an hour of coaching afterwards. And I'm going to make sure that you're set. If you have any questions, we'll be able to talk ongoing. So hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was helpful. Have a great day.